Okay, so get this right. TikTok. Everyone's using it, but its future in the US. Well, let's just say it's a little shaky right now.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit shaky.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't believe the stack of articles you sent over about, like, potential buyers and, like, wild proposals.
Right.
Honestly, it's like a real life, like, Succession, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah.
But with, like, algorithms and, like, dance challenges instead of all the family drama.
Right.
So let's just jump right in, and we'll break down exactly what you need to know about all this stuff. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, so, like, where do we even begin with this whole thing?
Well, I think the core issue really comes down to data privacy.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
The U.S. government is like really seriously concerned about the potential for the Chinese government to access user data through ByteDance,
Right.
which is, TikTok's parent company.
Right. Yeah, of course. And they're not messing around, like, at all, right? They went and, like, actually passed a law that could force ByteDance to either sell their stake in TikTok
Right.
or just face a complete ban in the U.S., like, completely gone.
Serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very serious situation. And I think TikTok knows it too.
Right.
They've been trying to address these concerns,
Yeah.
like they've been shifting U.S. user data to Oracle servers.
Right, right.
But it doesn't seem like that's been enough to, like, fully alleviate all of the pressure and, like,
Totally. And remember that whole thing where the ban was supposed to hit on January 19th?
Yeah, yeah.
And then, like, President Trump delayed it by, like, 75 days to
Yeah.
try to give everyone time to, like, sort something out.
Right.
I mean, it's been an absolute roller coaster, honestly.
Absolute. In fact, like, TikTok even briefly went offline
Oh, wow.
on January 20th.
Really?
Yeah, before coming back.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, so clearly, like, there's a lot of, like, backroom dealing and negotiating
Oh, for sure.
going on, Still, it's wild.
Yeah, it is pretty wild, especially when you consider, President Trump's, like, earlier attempts to ban TikTok, during his first term.
Right.
Like, his stance definitely seems to have, like, softened a bit now, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, there was even a quote in one of these articles where TikTok's CEO, Shou Chu, actually, like, thanks Trump for, like, working towards, like, a solution.
It's complex, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a complex situation.
Mm.
But amidst all of this, like, uncertainty,
Yeah.
you've got a new player coming out of the scene.
Oh, okay.
Perplexity AI.
Oh, interesting.
They're like an AI search engine startup. They're pretty new.
Okay, yeah.
And they've come up with a pretty unique proposal.
Oh, really?
So instead of, like, buying TikTok outright,
Right.
they want to merge with its U.S. operation.
Merger.
A merger, yeah.
Huh. Okay, so what's, like, the thinking behind that? Like, why would they want to do that?
Well, it seems like it's a pretty strategic move on their part.
Yeah.
By framing it as a merger,
Right.
rather than a sale.
Yeah.
They're hoping to make the deal a little bit more appealing to ByteDance, I think.
Okay.
It allows them to save a little bit of face with investors,
Right. Yeah.
and potentially even retain some control. So
Okay. Yeah. I see the appeal there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, how would this merger actually, like, work in practice?
So they're proposing to create this new entity.
Okay.
It's going to be called Nuco.
Nuco. Okay.
That would combine Perplexity with TikTok's U.S. operations.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really, really interesting.
Okay.
The U.S. government could end up owning, like, up to 50% of this new company
Whoa.
after it goes public.
50%.
50%, yeah.
That's, like, a huge chunk.
Yeah.
I mean, that would mean that, like, the government has, like, an actual stake in a social media platform that, like, millions of Americans are using.
Right.
Like, that's pretty unprecedented, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it definitely raises a lot of questions about how much influence the government would actually have over TikTok. Even though their shares would be non-voting and they wouldn't have any, like, representation on the board or anything like that.
Wait, so non-voting shares, like, what exactly does that mean?
So it means that even though the government would technically be a part owner of the company,
Right.
they wouldn't actually get to vote on, like, major decisions or have any, like, direct say in, how the company is run.
Right. Okay.
So think of it kind of like being like a silent partner,
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a way for the U.S. government to kind of like keep an eye on things
Yeah.
without like actually being directly involved in like day-to-day operations.
Right, right.
Okay. But like why would they even want a stake in the first place? Like what's in it for them?
Well, remember those national security concerns we talked about?
Yeah.
This arrangement would directly address those.
Yeah, okay.
So with an actual stake in the company,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
the government would have, more oversight,
Mm-hmm.
potentially a lot more control over how all that user data is handled.
I see. So it's like a compromise kind of.
Right.
Like ByteDance gets to keep some skin in the game.
Yeah.
And the U.S. government gets to feel a little bit more comfortable about data security.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this whole idea actually came about from feedback that Perplexity got from the Trump administration.
Oh, wow.
So it's clearly like really designed to appease those concerns.
Makes sense. Yeah. But let's be real. Perplexity is not doing this just out of the goodness of their hearts, right?
Right.
Like what's in it for them?
So they're actually a relatively small company.
Okay.
They're valued at about $9 billion,
Okay.
which, I mean, sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it does.
But they're looking to compete with giants like Google. Right?
Yeah.
So bringing TikTok's video content onto their platform would be a major, major boost for them.
I bet.
Yeah. It'd give them like a massive user base.
Yeah.
And a way to tap into, the growing popularity of all that short form video.
So they're basically trying to use this merger to just like slingshot themselves into the big leagues.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty ambitious.
Yeah, very. But there's another like interesting wrinkle here.
Oh, okay.
The funding for this merger, it wouldn't come from Perplexity or ByteDance directly.
Oh.
It would come from new third-party investors.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, and as part of the deal, those investors would even facilitate a dividend payout to ByteDance's existing investors.
Whoa. Talk about a win-win, right?
Right.
At least for ByteDance and their investors, right?
Definitely. But hold on.
Yeah.
Before we get too carried away with all the like Perplexity drama,
Right, yeah.
there's another major player in this saga that we need to talk about.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oracle.
Oh, yeah, Oracle. Right. Okay, so what about them?
So they are reportedly working with Microsoft and a bunch of other investors to put together their own bid for TikTok.
Interesting.
But their approach is quite a bit different from Perplexity's.
Okay, how so?
So instead of just like focusing on the U.S.,
Right.
they're looking to acquire TikTok's global operations.
Whoa, now that's a power move.
Yeah.
So instead of just like a piece of the pie, they want the whole thing.
Exactly.
Wow.
And if their bid is successful, it would mean that Oracle, not ByteDance, would be calling the shots on everything.
Oh, wow.
From the algorithm to, data collection to software updates for all TikTok users worldwide.
That would be a massive like shift in power dynamics.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I imagine it would have some pretty significant implications for TikTok users.
For sure.
Creators, and the social media landscape as a whole.
Absolutely. And we haven't even touched on the other potential buyers.
Wait, there's more.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, tell me more.
Lurking in the shadows. Yeah, so you've got Frank McCourt.
Okay, yeah.
The billionaire. He's apparently pretty interested in acquiring TikTok US.
Okay.
And like moving all those users over to his platform with a big emphasis on, data privacy, which everyone is talking about these days.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And then you've got Elon Musk and Larry Ellison.
Oh, wow.
Who President Trump himself actually mentioned as potential buyers.
Really?
At one point.
Wow.
Yeah. Although it's really unclear how serious those discussions actually were.
It's like a real-life bidding war for this app. Like, everyone wants a piece of the TikTok pie.
Everyone wants in. Yeah.
But with all these different, players and proposals, it's kind of hard to keep track of, like, who's who and what they even want.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty complex landscape out there.
Yeah.
But I think the really fascinating thing is that each of these proposals has the potential to just totally reshape the tech world in very different ways.
Okay, yeah. So let's play a little what if, okay?
Yeah.
Like, what if Perplexity's merger actually, goes through?
Yeah.
And the U.S. government ends up with that, 50% stake in this new company.
Right.
What kind of precedent does that set for, future tech deals,
I mean, that would be a pretty significant shift,
Yeah.
We haven't really ever seen that level of government involvement in like a social media company before.
Right.
Especially one that's, as wildly popular as TikTok is.
Yeah, for sure. And it makes you wonder, like, how would users even react to that?
Right.
Like, would they be comfortable knowing that the government, even indirectly, has, like, a stake in the platform they're using?
That's a great question, and it definitely raises some interesting concerns about a potential influence, right? And maybe the blurring of lines between, public and private sectors.
Yeah, it is a little unsettling to think about.
Yeah.
And speaking of like potential influence and stuff,
Yeah.
what if Oracle wins the bid?
Yeah.
Like they already have a massive presence in the tech world.
Right.
Like wouldn't that give them like even more power?
It's true, yeah. Oracle acquiring TikTok's global operations.
Yeah.
That would be, a major, major consolidation of power in the tech industry for sure.
Yeah.
They would literally have control over a platform with like hundreds of millions of users worldwide.
It's almost like a modern day tech monopoly in the making,
Right.
But like, didn't we learn anything from the whole like Microsoft antitrust case?
Well, I don't know that it's a one-to-one comparison.
Right.
The tech landscape is just so different now than it was back then.
Yeah, that's true.
But it definitely raises some important questions about competition and innovation.
Right. So like if one company just controls way too much of the market, does that just like totally stifle creativity and progress?
Yeah. That's a debate that's been raging for years.
Yeah.
Some people argue that, consolidation actually leads to like greater efficiency and more resources for development.
Yeah.
While others will say, it stifles competition and just leads to way less innovation. So,
yeah.
It's complex. There's really no easy answers.
Yeah, that's true. But let's not forget about like the people who would be the most affected by all of this, right?
Right.
The users, like TikTok has like a massive and dedicated user base, especially like among younger generations.
Right. Yeah.
So how might their experience like actually change,
Right.
depending on who ends up taking the reins?
That is a crucial point that often gets like completely lost, I think,
Yeah.
and all of the political and like financial maneuvering. User experience should be like front and center in all these discussions.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
will the app's functionality change at all?
Right.
Like, will the content moderation policies like shift?
Yeah.
What about like all the creators who've like built their careers on TikTok?
Yeah.
Like, their livelihoods could be at stake, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Like TikTok has become this like amazing platform for creativity and like entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And any change in ownership could have like really, really significant consequences for those who rely on it for like income and exposure.
Yeah. Absolutely. It almost feels like we're all just like waiting for the other shoe to drop, Like
Yeah.
we know a decision is coming, but we have no idea like how it's going to land,
Right.
what the long-term effects are going to be. It's a real nail biter.
It is.
Oh.
It's crazy, all this drama over like an app.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you that technology is like never just about the technology itself.
Right. Yeah.
It's always intertwined with like all these social and political and like economic forces,
Absolutely, 100%. What's
Yeah.
fascinating to me is that like we're literally like witnessing a pivotal moment in like the evolution of the internet itself, right?
Right.
Like the decisions that get made about TikTok right now could set precedents for how like governments and tech companies navigate like issues of data security, user privacy, national interests like for years to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just about an app. It's about like
Right.
the future of like online interaction.
Totally.
And that's a future that you, the listener, are a part of.
That's right.
Like, what do you think is the best solution for TikTok? What kind of implications would that solution like have for you as a user?
Yeah, those are definitely questions worth considering.
Yeah, we've given you a lot to like digest today, but the conversation it doesn't end here, right?
It doesn't. No. We've still got to explore like all the wider implications of this whole TikTok saga, for like the tech landscape as a whole.
Right. This whole situation just raises so many like big questions about, foreign investment, government regulation,
Mhm.
and like the increasing scrutiny of tech companies and, all that.
That's right.
Like, let's unpack all that after a quick message from our sponsor.
Okay, so we've talked about like the potential buyers and, those crazy proposals and, what this whole TikTok saga could even mean for like users and like the entire tech industry. But let's like zoom out even further for a minute. What are the like bigger issues at play here? Like what's really going on?
Well, I think this whole thing has really thrown a spotlight on the just growing scrutiny of foreign-owned tech companies that are operating in the U.S.
Right, yeah. Well,
It's not even. I mean, it's not just about TikTok.
Right.
And we've seen like similar concerns raised about companies like Huawei and ZTE too. Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember all those headlines about Huawei and 5G security risks like a few years back.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
It just seems like data security and national security have become like almost inseparable these days.
100%, yeah. I mean, we are in an era of like heightened geopolitical tensions, right?
Yeah.
And data is just, I mean, it's a valuable asset.
Oh, yeah.
Governments are, I mean, they're increasingly concerned about the potential for, foreign entities to access like sensitive information.
Right.
Or even use technology for, espionage.
Right, right.
And that's really driving a lot of this regulatory scrutiny that we're seeing everywhere.
So, okay, so like could this whole TikTok situation actually like set a precedent for how future tech deals are, scrutinized and regulated?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the outcome of this whole saga, it could have like ripple effects, honestly, for years to come.
Wow.
It could lead to like way stricter regulations on, data collection and storage.
Right.
Even, limitations on foreign investment in U.S. tech companies.
Uh-huh.
And even, I mean, potentially even more government oversight of the tech industry as a whole.
It almost feels like we're at a crossroads, like
so.
the decisions that get made right now, are going to shape the future of the internet, not just in the US,
Right.
but like globally for everyone.
It's true. And what's really fascinating to me is that we're kind of seeing a fundamental shift, I think,
Yeah.
in how we all think about the internet.
Yeah.
Like it's no longer this free for all Wild West where, anything goes.
Right.
Like governments are starting to really assert their authority more.
Yeah.
And tech companies are facing increasing pressure to be like a lot more accountable.
It's like the internet's finally like growing up.
Yeah.
And with that comes like more responsibility.
Yeah.
And probably more restrictions too, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a double-edged sword.
Right.
I mean, on the one hand, greater regulation can help to protect user privacy.
Right.
And even, national security.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, could also just stifle innovation.
Right.
Limit freedom of expression.
Yeah.
Like finding the right balance is like that's the real key.
Yeah. It is a tough balance to strike.
It is.
And it's just a good reminder that like technology is never really neutral.
No.
It's always shaped by like the social and the political and the economic forces, of the time.
Exactly. And that's why I think it's so important to be aware of those dynamics.
Totally.
And to engage in, informed discussions about like the role of technology in our lives.
Yeah, yeah. We can't just be passive consumers of technology, right?
Yeah.
Like we need to like actively shape it.
That's right.
Our choices about like the platforms we use, the data we share, the way we interact online, all of that plays a role in like shaping the future of the internet.
Yeah. And that brings us right back to you, the listener.
Yeah.
I mean, what role do you want to play in shaping the future of the internet? What kind of online world do you actually want to live in?
Yeah, it is a question worth, pondering. Mm-hmm. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the uncertain future of TikTok, we just want to encourage you to like keep exploring, keep learning, keep asking those questions, like the future of the internet is in all of our hands.